a fool to believe that your love was true. I'm done playing games, cause I always seem to lose. I know you heard me crying from the other room, yeah. Yes, I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. Every time I try to love you, it don't mean nothing. Every time I try to talk to you, you don't hear what I'm saying. Every time I wanna hold you, you just turn away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on.
While my mind's playing tricks, I know it ain't true. I just want it so badly, baby, for you to love me too. I got my bags all packed, waiting by the door. I'm all broke up inside, you don't want me anymore. Every time I try to ride on the wrongs, you say it's no use, baby, our love is gone. Every time I try to reach out, you just walk away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Well, I went to the doctor to get some medicine. He said, girl, you ain't sick. No, you just need a good man. I said, doctor, well, my heart is breaking. I feel so alone. Oh, my love was taken. Yeah. I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. I'm done playing games, oh, I was in the lose. I know you heard me crying from the other room, yeah. Yes, I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. Every time I try to love you, it don't mean nothing. Every time I try to talk to you, you don't hear what I'm saying. Every time I wanna hold you, you just turn away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby.
Oh, yes, I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby.
I wanna tell you something. I think you should really know. I'm feeling some kind of way, like it's time for me to go. Oh, you know I love you. Hey, but I really don't like you. I don't like you. I'm running around in circles. I'm doing it all for us. You're giving me all the blame. I can't take should really know. I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm thinking that I should go. Oh, you know I love you, but I really don't like you. Oh, you know I love you, but I really don't like you. Oh, I don't like you. You know I love you, but I don't like you. Yeah, you know I love you. Yeah, I don't like you. My mama don't like you. My daddy don't like you. You know I love you. I really don't like you. You don't know where I used to be, oh no. Got me a house on the other side of town, down by the railroad tracks. It ain't much, but it's all mine. Better than where I was at. I used to wander around Dope City, crazy out my mind. Now I got me a job down at the Five and Dime, and I made my way. I got to tell it like it is, and I ain't the same. Lord, I got to tell it like it is. 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 Where I used to be, oh no. I used to wake up in the morning time, feeling all kinds of blue, remembering how we used to get high and the things we used to do. I went over to your mama's house to see if you was around. She says the devil in front got that boy. Lord, he's 6 feet in the ground. Now I ain't the same. I got to tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. And I made my way. I got to tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Now I ain't the same. I got to tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. And I made my way. I got to tell it like it is. 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 When you feel the world dragging you down, raising you up. When you feel the pain of all of the love you're still dreaming of. If you drive out the darkness, bring in the light, keep love alive. You can just keep it to yourself, or you can tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Now I ain't the same. I got to tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. And I made my way. I got to tell it like it is. Tell it like it Well, I finally laid my youth to rest, put away my pride and childish ways. I have traveled far to get to this place, earn the grace in my hair and the lines of my face. Here's my simple truth: I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. Little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. I believe true love is a sacrifice, and faith is more than words. Forgiveness leaves no room for hate, and the heart takes time to change. Here's my simple truth: I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. Little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. You know, I thought I had it all figured out. Well, that's what a prideful fool believes, yeah. It took many, many times of falling from grace to finally see, finally see. Well, I finally laid my youth to rest, put away my pride and childish whims. I have traveled far to get to this place, earned the grays in my hair and the lines on my face. Here's my simple truth: I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. Little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. Little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. Little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit closer to the grave. You say you want love, joy and peace too, but you run and hide when they come calling on you. You say you're tired of suffering, you just want a better life. But when the truth comes to set you free, you stay shackled to the lies. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid, lay them all down. I hope you understand. You gotta You say nobody wants to help you, so you stay in the same place, blaming everybody, yeah. 'Cause it's too much work to change. You say now's the time, oh yeah, that you lay down your heavy load. But it just don't feel right.
No, it don't feel right.
To let all of the craziness go.
Let it go, let it go.
Just let it go. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid. Lay them all down. I hope you understand. You gotta die to truly live. To truly live. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid. Lay them all down. I hope you understand. I don't know if you're ready to lay your burdens down. Don't be so afraid. Lay them all down. I hope you understand. You gotta die to truly live. To truly live. I don't know if you want it. You say you got to have it. You say you want love. You say you want love. You ain't ready. Well, now I picked you up from the station. Thought we could try it again. Lean in and give you a kiss now, honey. And you're smelling like that old ride gin. Why won't you just do right? You just do right. Well, now you're driving me crazy. Why won't you just do right? Well, now I took you to see my daddy, my sweet mama too. They said you haven't changed much, stumbling up the steps like a fool. Why won't you just do right? You just do right. Well, now you're making me crazy. Why won't you just do right? Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby, just do right. Why won't you just do right? Well, now I took you back to the station. I hate to see you go. My younger days are over, and your drunken charm is grown old. Why won't you just do driving me crazy. Why won't you just do right? Come on, baby.
Do right.
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 Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby, just do. Come on, baby, just do. Come on, baby, just do right. Why won't you just do right? Just do right. Why won't you just do right? Come on, honey, and just do right.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Well, I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. I'm done playing games, cause I always seem to lose. I know you heard me crying from the other room, yeah. Yes, I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. Every time I try to love you, it don't mean nothing. Every time I try to talk to you, you don't hear what I'm saying. Every time I wanna hold you, you just turn away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on.
Well, my mind's playing tricks. I know it ain't true. I just want it so badly, baby, for you to love me too. I got my bags all packed, waiting by the door. I'm all broke up inside, you don't want me anymore. Every time I try to ride all alone, you say it's no use, baby. Our love is gone. Every time I try to reach out, you just walk away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Well, I went to the doctor to get some medicine. He said, girl, you ain't sick. No, you just need a good man. I said, doctor, well, my heart is breaking. I feel so alone. All my love was taken. Yeah. I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. I'm done playing games, oh, I was in to lose. I know you heard me crying from the other room, yeah. Yes, I'm a fool to believe that your love was true. Every time I try to love you, it don't mean nothing. Every time I try to talk to you, you don't hear what I'm saying. Every time I wanna hold you, you just turn away. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby.
Oh, yes, I'm a fool to believe.
Come on, baby.
I wanna tell you something. I think you should really know. I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm running around in circles. I'm doing it all for us. You're giving me all the blame. I can't take it, it's all too much. Oh, you know I love you. Hey, hey, but I really don't like you. I don't like you. Oh, you know I love you. Hey, but I really don't like you. I don't like you. I've been rolling through the motions, hoping you might understand. And you made me feel like I can never do anything. When all I wanted was your love, yes, your love. Oh yeah. I wanna tell you something. I think you should really know. I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm thinking that I should go. Oh, you know I love you, but I really don't like you. Oh, you know I love you, but I really don't like you. Oh, I don't like you. You know I love you, but I don't like you. Yeah, you know I love you. Yeah, I don't like you. My mama don't like you. My daddy don't like you. You know I love you. I really don't like you. You don't know where I used to be, oh no. Got me a house on the other side of town, down by the railroad tracks. It ain't much, but it's all mine. Better than where I was at. I used to wander around Dope City, crazy out my mind. Now I got me a job down at the
When we all do better, we all do better. It makes no sense that we would not want every child, no matter what the color of their skin, no matter their economic circumstances, no matter their gender, no matter their ability or disability, to reach their fullest potential. My name is Alan Page. I'm one of the co-founders of the Page Education Foundation, along with my wife, Diane Sims Page. I've had a lot of good fortune, both athletically, in the law, with my family, and I feel some obligation to try to help others have that same success. For too many children of color, there had been a lack of emphasis on education. And we thought that if we could provide financial assistance to graduating high school seniors and then have them work with young children, those young children could see somebody who looked like them, who maybe had some shared experience, maybe came from their neighborhood, using education as a tool to achieve their hopes and dreams. Since 1988, we're approaching 8,000 Page Scholars. And each one of those scholars has impacted young children in a way that has changed their futures. And that's kind of what this is all about, changing the future, making it better than it might otherwise have been.
My name is Isaiah Haupt, and I am a Page alum.
My name is Aisha Malim. I am a Page Scholar studying at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities.
My name is Adriana Cortez. I am a student at St. Kate's, and I am a Page Scholar.
The first time I heard about the Page Education Foundation was in high school. The ways that they were impacting children and college students' lives, that was something that really drew me in. And when I found out I got the scholarship, it was really exciting for me. That was really the first scholarship that I had gotten from an external organization, which kind of validated that I was moving forward with the college direction, and that this was going to be something that was going to change my life.
When I found out that I had received the scholarship, I was really overwhelmed and very happy. The reason really why my parents came to the United States, because going to college had always been part of the plan. Without the Page Foundation and their financial support, I don't think I would have been able to go to college.
It was towards the end of my senior year at Edina High School, and I was nervous on what my next step was. I remember looking at my email when I received the notification that I was selected to be a Page Scholar. I was like, wow, I felt like I was doing something right.
I learned a lot by being hands-on with the Page Education Foundation. Being a part of the Service to Children project really forced me to focus on somebody else and not on myself.
You get to volunteer with students that look like you, and you can be that mentor or that person they end up looking up to.
I think organizations like the Page Foundation are very important to minority students and first-generation students because they offer all the support that we might not have at home.
Our scholars get the benefit of helping somebody other than themselves grow and develop. For the young people they work with, they get somebody in their lives who is reliable, who cares about them, who has their interest in heart, and who they can look up to follow. Our scholars benefit, the young children they work with benefit, our communities benefit, and in that process we all win. We've had the good fortune to develop a partnership with Hy-Vee that is a win-win for everybody. Our scholars get a chance to explore career opportunities and get a chance to see what it's like out in the real world.
The partnership between Hy-Vee and the Page Foundation is an inspiring one. We've been inspired by the work that they've been doing in the community. We are supporting 25 scholars through the foundation, and this is really an opportunity for us to engage with them and for them to learn a little bit more about business in general, the industry, what Hy-Vee is, what we're all about, to show them all the opportunities within Hy-Vee.
It's an opportunity for Hy-Vee to see young men and women of color who hopefully will be their future employees. It breaks down, I think, some of the stereotypes and myths that prevent and impede opportunity for students of color.
Being a Page Scholar really impacted me and helped me in my career because I became so comfortable speaking with people that were levels and levels above me.
I feel like I have a purpose, and I feel like I'm doing something meaningful and helping the world.
If I had not gotten the Page Scholarship, I don't think I would have stepped out of my comfort zone as much as I have, because they really give us a lot of support and opportunities to work on ourselves and our leadership so that we can become the mentors that students need.
Everybody, every person, no matter who they are, no matter the color of their skin, no matter their sexual preference or identity, has a right to achieve their fullest potential. If we can bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice, if we can begin to ensure that everybody is treated fairly and equally, that every child has the opportunity to learn, we can bend that arc in ways that make the future better and brighter for all of us.
Hi, and welcome to the Page Education Foundation's 2021 Justice Gala presented by Hy-Vee and Jim and Jan Senegal. My name is Isaiah Haupt, and I will be your host for our virtual program today. This is the first of our two-part gala. We hope you will also be able to join us again tomorrow from 6 to 10 p.m. at US Bank Stadium for our in-person Justice Gala celebration. Tickets are still available to purchase at www.page-ed.org. Social justice, economic justice, and racial justice are in the DNA of the Page Education Foundation. Recognizing that disparities in academic achievement deny Minnesota's children of color this justice, Diane and Alan Page started the Page Education Foundation in 1988. The foundation's mission is to encourage, motivate, and assist students of color in the pursuit of post-secondary education, and in the process, change the future and bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. The foundation achieves that goal by providing financial assistance to students pursuing post-secondary education, and by requiring our grant recipients, as we call them Page Scholars, to volunteer with young children in the community as tutors, mentors, and role models. The first year, the foundation had 10 Page Scholars. This year, we have 526. In 34 years, $16 million in Page grants have been awarded to more than 8,000 Page Scholars. Those Page Scholars have volunteered nearly 500,000 hours working with 50,000 children across Minnesota. From 2015 to 2019, I was one of those scholars. I graduated from St. Cloud State University with a bachelor's degree in International Business Administration. As a Page Scholar, the Page Education Foundation invested in my education as well as my career. The foundation understands that a college degree without the ability to effectively utilize it does little to advance justice. Being a Page Scholar helped me in my career because I became comfortable speaking to business leaders in the community. The professional mentors and career development workshops they provided expanded my network and understanding of where I wanted my education and career to lead. Today, I am a consultant at Slalom. Slalom is a modern consulting firm focused on strategy, technology, and business transformation. In my role, I partner with clients across the country to deliver innovative solutions to their business needs through the use of technology, and more specifically, Salesforce. As a Page Scholar alum, I want to give back to the Page Education Foundation and pay it forward by creating more career opportunities for current Page Scholars. The heart of our program today is about how we can all take part in creating access to career development and opportunities for Minnesota students of color. At Slalom, I worked with my colleagues and our leadership team to bring the Page Education Foundation's Accelerate program to our company. The Accelerate program provides Page Scholars with customized opportunities to learn about local Minnesota businesses and companies who have invested in their education. Throughout the school year, Page Scholars engage in workshops, field trips, and mentoring with Accelerate partners who offer internship opportunities and employment opportunities. In 4 years, the Accelerate program has grown from one corporate partner supporting 10 Page Scholars to 5 partners which now support nearly 100 Page Scholars in their career pursuits. Our panel discussion today includes representatives from 4 of our Accelerate partners: Slalom, Thomson Reuters, Best Buy, and Hy-Vee. I would also like to thank our Justice Gala sponsors, including our presenting sponsors, Hy-Vee and Jim and Jan Senegal, as well as our sustaining partner, Greenberg Tourig. We are dependent on the generosity of community members like all of you to keep the good work of the foundation going. I'd also like to thank the moderator of our program discussion today, Todd Wind. Todd serves as a member of the Page Education Foundation's Advisory Board leadership team. He is an experienced trial attorney with a concentration in business litigation and a shareholder at Frederickson and Byron. He has been recognized by both Chambers USA, America's leading lawyers for business, and Minnesota Super Lawyers as an experienced attorney for more than 10 years. Without further ado, let's begin our program.
Thanks, Isaiah, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this lunchtime conversation. The topic today is building a path for success for Minnesota students of color. The topic of diversity and inclusion is commonplace in boards all across the country. The focus has been on attracting and hiring students, graduates of diverse backgrounds. But that doesn't necessarily solve the long-term goal. The long-term goal here is to ensure employment, security, and stability, and a voice in the leadership of corporations. The Center for American Progress did a recent study where it looked at this issue and determined that, number one, you have to engage students earlier in their educational process to build career awareness, and really critical to that effort is a partnership with the business community. They also found, however, that corporations are interested in that effort but don't know how to go about it. They don't know what role they can play early in the education process. Now, fortunately, we have 4 business professionals with us today that can help answer those questions. So I'm happy to introduce them to you. First, to my immediate left is Mark Irvin. Mark is the Chief Inclusion, Diversity, and Talent Officer at Best Buy, and he is a Page Education Advisory Board member. To Mark's left is Mary Beth Hart. Mary Beth is the Director of Community Diversity and Community Relations at Hy-Vee, and my new favorite grocery store in the Twin Cities. And Mary Beth came up from West Des Moines to join us today. And immediately to Mary Beth's left is DeLacy McGrew. DeLacy is a Director of Community Relations and Alliances at Thomson Reuters here in the Twin Cities. DeLacy is an attorney and is also a Page Education Advisory Board member, so welcome. And to DeLacy's left is Nadja Sinungi. Nadja is a senior consultant with Slalom, same as Isaiah, and previous to working with Slalom, Nadja had over a decade of experience with College Possible, which is one of the largest nonprofit college access and success organizations in the country. In addition, Nadja, I hope to ask you about this in a little bit, but is a professional mentor, which is another aspect that I want this panel to discuss today. So, we obviously have a tremendous wealth of experience here, and what I'd like to start with is have each of you explain why you're personally invested in this mission of creating the pathway for success for Minnesota students of color. Mark, can we start with you on that?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. You know, my own background, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And in some ways, I wasn't the first person in my family that went to college, but I was the first person in my family that joined corporate America. And I actually had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what jobs to think about. I remember looking at the first resumes and I thought immediately, I don't qualify. And so I needed someone to come to the table with me and really help me on that journey. And so that has made me, in my own stumbling approach, it's made me so incredibly passionate about this work, because I believe that there's so many people that have gifts, talents, and skills, but where you apply those gifts is completely unknown to them. That's why I'm fully invested in this work. I believe it's important.
Terrific, thank you. Mary Beth.
Yes, so for me, there was a realization recently about the privilege and the benefits that I've had coming from where I come from. I'm from Iowa originally, and my family has been very instrumental in connecting me with various resources that have helped me in my career. And I've really felt like it's time to give back. It's time to figure out how I can share my experiences, share the privilege that I've had with those who may not have had the same access, whether it's reaching out to and sharing my personal network, or connecting the Page Scholars and other college students and other career seekers with businesses that we work with at Hy-Vee. So that's really been a realization that, hey, it's time for me, it's time for our company to give back and figure out how we can strengthen the network and the connections for all.
Oh, thank you. DeLacy, what motivates you personally to be involved in this mission?
I am originally from Louisiana, and I am the first person to attend college in my family. And my family would have been just excited if I had finished high school and worked at the local Walmart. But because I was involved in programs that really sought to encourage attending college and work after college, it motivated me to attend college and not only just get my bachelor's degree, but to go on to law school. And so I've kept that with me throughout my career to always give back, to always be considering those students whose families would be just as proud if they stopped their education after high school, but that to make sure we share that there is more if you should choose, and we can provide that support. And so I'm happy to be working with Thomson Reuters because they believe in that mission and allow me to work with the Page Education Foundation.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you. And Nadja, you've got a long history now in this mission, both with your with upturnships and with College Possible. And what motivates you to go down that road?
Absolutely. I've been able to walk along many students on this journey as they go through high school, choose colleges, and enter into the workforce. And that has been a big source of joy for me. And one of the things that really makes me excited is seeing the generational change. As you were talking about your family being the first in your family going to college, right? Now generations are going to be changed. There's going to be maybe expectations or say my mom or my grandma or my auntie went to college, I can go to college too, right? And so because of that, there are going to be generational changes, generational shifts and expectations to be able to go to college, be able to seek corporate jobs because there are people before them that have done that. And so I think the visibility that these students bring, because now that they're going to college and going into maybe a corporate role or a different type of role that might be different than their parents and grandparents, is what really sometimes keeps me up at night, but gives me a lot of joy and sense of pride because I can see that change, not just for that student, but for their children and the children that are going to come after them.
Sure, and that's a really interesting comment about the sort of a generational change, and that's true not only for families, but probably for corporate organizations as well. And one of the questions that I have for all of you, but let me start with you, Mark, on do you see the gap still between hiring diverse candidates and the leadership teams within, say, Best Buy?
You know, we're working to address that. We've made some what we call our commitments. And the commitments are all about representation. How do you have a leadership team that represents the community? And so in doing that, I think there's inspiration in that. There's a pipeline for that. You know, as people of color look into an organization and they see people in leadership roles and they go, I can accomplish that. There's a doorway for me. There's support for me in doing that.
In a way, that's kind of the same thing that Nadja was talking about in seeing a family member already succeed and you see somebody else like, right?
Yeah, there's no question about that.
Yeah. Mary Beth, how about you? Do you see that gap still persist, and why do you think it persists?
Sure. I mean, we do see that gap, and we don't shy away from it. We recognize that it's a challenge that we need to overcome. We've been working to bring in more training, more education for people of all backgrounds in our stores and at our corporate office so that we've got the pipeline and we're ready to start promoting people when they're ready. You know, I think that a lot of it has to do with operating as we've always operated. And we've in the last few years, last decade, 2 decades, really realized we need to be better at promoting and supporting people of color in our leadership roles. So we're getting there. It takes time, but I can confidently say that we're being much more intentional, and we're putting together the programs and launching programs that we need to make it happen.
Terrific. And DeLacy, I'm going to ask the same question of you because you made a comment earlier that Thomson Reuters is supportive of the mission. Well, is it working not just at the hiring stage, but all the way up to the leadership stage so far? And if not, what's the next step to make that happen?
So like my 2 partners here, There's obviously work that needs to be done in most organizations across, but I'm really happy about the commitments that Thomson Reuters has made to increase our persons of color that are in leadership by 50% and to increase persons of color at every level throughout the organization. We already have very talented people of color from all diverse backgrounds, but we've really set in programs to help train, help mentor, and guide our current talent with the pipeline to leadership opportunities. But then we've also worked with our talent and acquisition department to recruit new talent to come into the organization. So we're not leaving the talent that already exists behind, and we also are looking to bring in new people to the organization with that fresh perspective. So it's and I think one of the biggest things that they've done is put our money where our mouth is. So we're investing in these programs like the Page Education Foundation to bring these students on campus, even in college, so that they know who Thomson Reuters is, what we do, and how they can be a part of our organization.
Well, that brings me to the next question, because part of what you've talked about is what we can do with existing employees to make sure they're trained and developed along the way. But going that earlier stage of how do you get to build that career awareness earlier in an education process for Minnesota students of color. So Natcha, how can corporations get involved earlier with an education process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of formalities and processes during the undergraduate process, right? You can connect with the career development centers and post your jobs and go to on-campus interviews, but I think we need to broaden that to the K-12, right? And so bring visibility to our high school and middle school and elementary school students about the types of roles and careers that are possible for them, roles and careers that they have not seen before or considered before. Especially with the world I'm in technology, the world is changing. The technology that I work with today was not available 20 years ago, right? So that idea was never there. But I think that visibility, providing those opportunities, if it's field trips or mentorships or there's just so many things, I think the business community can come into those spaces, K-12, and bring that visibility to those students. So that way they can keep those things in mind as they progress in their education and go into college.
Well, one of the ways that businesses can get involved early is obviously through the Accelerate program, which all of your companies have done. And I'd like to hear, I guess, from each one of you, and we'll start with you, DeLacy, on why did Thomson Reuters decide to get involved in the Accelerate program?
So yeah, Thomson Reuters was the pilot program for the Accelerate program, and I'd like to credit our former CEO, Rick King, who invested in this program, as well as Greg Yolitz and the person that sat in my role, Nicole Hansen, along with Sharon Sells-Belton. And so together, they actually put the budget behind and the resources for people to be mentors to the students, to bring them out on our campus so that they can tour the campus and see it. Now, of course, the program looks a little bit different with COVID-19 as we're all virtual, but we still have that very dedicated mentor program where they're partnered with someone at Thomson Reuters that are in areas where they have interest in going in their careers, so that they get to know exactly what that person does on a daily basis, but then they have a personal stakeholder in their career in Thomson Reuters that can connect them to other people. So we are really excited about what the students offer when they come on campus, and it's like a reciprocal relationship. They teach our employees who are mentoring them, and of course the mentorship offers value to the students.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're saying it's both the awareness, the career awareness for the person, but it's also the connections that they can form along the way.
And those connections are everything. I remember going to school with students who had parents who owned businesses or who were executives in organizations, and so they always had a summer internship. And so for those students, when they left college, they had a job because they had experience. Where other students, they just had education and no experience. And sometimes you need experience to get the first job.
Sure.
And so in this situation, they're gaining that experience right away, and they have people that they can call on to say, hey, I see an internship, can you vouch for me? And that gives them that person who can help guide them if someone in their family doesn't work at an organization.
Oh, that's terrific. Mary Beth, how about you? Why did Hy-Vee get involved with the Accelerate program, and can you give us a little color on kind of how it's worked in this first year?
Sure. So we're fairly new to the program. We just completed our first year as a Hy-Vee or a Page Accelerate partner. It was great success. We came to the table, I think, as many organizations have in the last 18 months. We realized that we needed to put our money where our mouth was, and with all of the social justice issues and social justice conversations, especially around the murder of George Floyd, we decided to take action. And the Page Foundation was a natural step for us. We identified the group as a way for us to get in touch with college students, a way for us to give back, and a way for them to learn about Hy-Vee and what we're up to. There's a lot of opportunity within Hy-Vee, and we wanted to be able to share that with this audience in particular. You know, it's been so fun getting to know these scholars, having them come visit our stores, talking with them and learning more about their experience, connecting them with mentors. I think that it's a partnership that we're excited for. 1 year down, we'll see what comes here in the future. So
Terrific.
It's been great.
Nadja, how about Slalom? Why did you decide to get involved as a company in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are also very new in our journey with the Accelerate program, just starting this summer. But we had been looking for an organization to partnership so that way we can have impact and meaningful connections with students, specifically students of color. Isaiah, who is also a Page Scholar, was able to make the connection for us between Slalom, Minneapolis, and Page. And it's been a wonderful journey. It's not just about posting opportunities, internship opportunities, but having meaningful connections and relationships with students, being able to learn from each other, the students and Slalom, and being able to invest in their career development. And so it was a great option, a very easy choice to make. Amanda and Candace have been great to work with, and it's been easy for us to enter into that relationship. We just had our first seminar a couple weeks ago, so we're still very new, but very excited to start this journey with the Page Education Foundation.
Terrific. Now, Mark, I'm going to make you do double duty on this one because in addition to telling us why Best Buy got involved with the Accelerate program, somebody asked me yesterday, what does it really kind of look like in terms of these field trips and workshops, and what is a student going to see? And the reason I want you to address this is you said early on that when you started your professional journey, you didn't even think you were qualified.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this program do to help a student feel qualified, or to answer that question a little bit? So how did you get involved with Accelerate, and then maybe hit that second part?
Yeah, I've got a bit of an advantage in this question because, one, I've always been involved with the Page Advisory Board. So the Page program, I've seen tremendous students through the Page Foundation, and I've always been incredibly impressed. And so the first time Amanda and others were talking to us, I went, we want in. We want to build a pipeline and have a connection, and we want to make a hometown difference. Mm-hmm. So often we've got some tremendous pipelines into HBCUs, historically black colleges, but we didn't have a real strong connection in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the Page Accelerator program gave us the ability to have those connections and really make a difference in our own backyard. We've been incredibly committed to that. We're doing something that we call Teen Tech Centers. Our Teen Tech Centers, we've actually created hubs. One of our hubs is in Minneapolis. And we're going to set up about 20 of these Teen Tech Centers with the goal of doing what you talked about, exposing people to technology and helping them to begin to say, well, can I see myself with the latest tools and technology?
So you're talking high school kids?
We're talking high school kids, teenagers, providing those exposures that can change outcomes. The Accelerator program does the same thing, because so often you step into some of these spaces you don't know. And the unknown creates anxiety. It creates hesitancy. Through these connections, we can actually bridge the gap on all those things. And so often people of color never get that. They never get the support. They never get the help. I remember back when I was younger, and this is just one example, I didn't know you could have an SAT test tutor. We never got tutored on the SAT. We took it cold.
I just learned that. I just learned that now.
We just walked in and took it cold. I mean, that was like, what? And then we looked at the disparities in grades and what was the outcome of some of those scores.
Yeah.
Well, if I had the same access that another person would have had, my scores would be the same.
Right.
And so I think the same thing with the accelerator program. When kids understand what's offered in corporate America, when they have sponsors and mentors can help guide the way,
Yeah.
it assures a greater outcome of success.
That's terrific. And, one of the Page Education wants to share experiences amongst their members. And since you are all at different levels, with Hy-Vee being a relatively new member and Slalom being a new member, can each of you comment real briefly on what has surprised you about the program and what has gone sort of probably better than you expected and maybe not quite as good as you expected? And maybe we'll start with Naj on that one.
Sure. Like I mentioned, we are newer, and we only have about a month or two under our belt. But Slalom has about 10,000 consultants, over 40 locations. And what's been fun is that other markets, Slalom markets, have been reaching out and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Tell us more about Page Foundation and the partnership that you have. And now they are seeking to find similar opportunities, local, like you're referring to, in their communities where they can do the same. So it's been really great to be able to engage in those conversations, help be a thought partner with the other markets to be able to do the same, so that way they can also invest in their local communities to bring more awareness about consulting and to help grow the industry as a whole.
That's terrific. Lacey?
Yeah, I think what might be surprising to others, which wasn't surprising to me, is that the students are truly scholars. When we get the applications to review the students that we're going to bring in, these students are dean list, 3.5, 3.8, 4.0. They're involved in so many extracurricular activities. They're leading in their student governments, and they also have part-time jobs. So these are students who have proven their academic prowess, as well as their ability to multitask and be involved in different events and work. And so it's a no-brainer to say, hey, let's give them that corporate professional experience, and then they are easy to go into a corporate world post their graduation. And so I think that might be surprising for others to know. I'm actually getting really great candidates, and you get to know really great people when you read their stories about their backgrounds and how they, got here and what their goals are. You really get invested in wanting to make sure that you can get them to where they're trying to go. So that's been the biggest reward.
Terrific. Mary Beth, any early observations?
So I would say one surprise that's been beneficial for Hy-Vee and for the scholars is we've been able to bring our scholars along in many ways. So we are very involved in the community, out volunteering at food giveaways, at different events and programs for youth. And we've been able to invite the Page scholars to come volunteer side by side with Hy-Vee employees. And that has been a wonderful surprise and blessing, because at those events, they're talking and they're mingling with each other, and they're learning. Our Page scholars are learning about different career opportunities and different pathways at Hy-Vee that they may not have known about previously. So that's been a really good surprise, and it's helping the Page scholars get their volunteer hours along the way. So that's been a definite benefit, I'd say.
That's terrific. And I'm going to switch things up on you again, Mark. So I'm interested to hear from you is, what does it look like? What is in it for the corporation? So what I'm hearing is this is a fantastic opportunity for the student to learn and to gain some career knowledge. But now, what's in it for the corporation?
Yeah, it's super interesting question. If you think about the talent level of our Page scholars, and I love what you said. We had our first kickoff meeting yesterday, and in that kickoff meeting, the presenter actually had a deck, and they started to communicate, and the scholars were in the room, and they went, my hands started to go up immediately. And they started to provide feedback and insight. So that feedback and insight actually helps an organization like Best Buy to grow in our perspectives. Mm-hmm. So it helps us to create a more inclusive culture with the insights of incredibly talented new leaders that are emerging from colleges and into the workforce.
Interesting.
Yeah.
DeLacy, let's go to you on that one. What do you see as the benefit to Thomson Reuters now and in the future in terms of a program like Accelerate?
I think the benefit is having that direct talent pipeline because you have people who have been introduced to the organization already. You have other people in the organization who have already connected with the students, and it's a natural transition to an opportunity with people you already know and that you can work with. And when you have that familiarity, you're okay to ask questions, which I will attest, we had a seminar a few weeks ago and the students asked great questions and they're very eager. And so it really just helps us fine tune our processes as we bring in new talent and make sure that we have a wealth of that talent from all backgrounds.
Okay. I want to ask you a follow-up on that because one of the things that I said at the beginning was we may not solve the retention problem by an immediate hire, but do you think that programs like this help with that, help with retaining employees, get them invested into the company and grow?
I definitely think so. Being from Louisiana, moving to Minnesota, that's one of the things that keeps you here because you get to know people. And when you get to know people, you feel like you're a part of it and you want to stay. And that's exactly what happens with the Page Scholars. They get to know people. We also involve them in programs where they can get to know other interns. And so through those connections with each other and the organization, they feel at home. And so when you feel at home, you're likely to stay there a little bit more often.
Sure.
Or longer.
Oh, that's terrific. And so, let me get your thoughts on that, Nadja. Do you think that these programs, the Accelerate program in particular, helps with the retention and advancement of employees in the organization?
Yeah, and I'll share that from two perspectives. So from the student perspective, I think it helps, oftentimes when we graduate from college, finding that first role, we might be shooting from the hip, like we're just kind of taking whatever comes at us first. But here, because of the experiences of the Accelerate program and other internships, they might be able to make a more intentional decision about what type of roles they want or don't want, companies that they want to work for. And by going in there, knowing what to expect and being satisfied with their experience, they may be more likely to stay at that organization. And then from the employer perspective, I think something that you said, which is so critical, is that our students come with so much. And oftentimes I think corporate America or people that aren't exposed to our students come with a deficiency perspective that we need to give our students all of these things, when I think really the change needs to come from our leadership, right? And to our leaders to know that these students are coming to us with many years of experience and work. Some of our students have been working since they were 15 years old, right? They might have 7 years of work experience already. Maybe not corporate experience, but experience that helps them become great employees. They have overcome a lot of trauma and experiences, and they come to the table with so much where I think we need to change our perspectives on our students and our future employees versus saying that we need to give them all of these things for them to be at par of the work that we're expecting. And so I think that also with our current pipeline and our future pipeline will help with retention as well.
One of you mentioned earlier that one of the features of the program is providing kind of mentorships for the kids along the way, and I really want your perspective on when that begins. Does it begin, how early in the process does it begin? And is it before even an internship? Is it in the exposure stage, or is it once you hire a student as a paid intern? When does that happen, and how has it looked so far? And let me start with you, DeLacy, on that one.
So for us, it starts in the Accelerate program. So when we have our first session, they are introduced to their mentors. The mentors join our meeting, and they get information about their title, their business unit, and they are requested to meet with that mentor within 1 week of that initial meeting. So that they get to right away put that name with the face, schedule the rest of their meetings throughout the semester, and then also start saying what their goals are. So right away they meet with them, and there's a requirement for them to meet with their mentor after each of our sessions. So they meet with that mentor throughout the entire time, and we give them sessions on so many different things. Resume building is the first one that we do. And they can work with their mentor to review that resume based upon all the tools we've given them to have that ready so that when our internships are posted, they can immediately apply and be ready for that internship season.
That's terrific. Sounds very formalized and up and running. It's terrific. Mark, how is the mentorship handled at Best Buy?
Yeah, very similar to what you just said. It starts almost day one because it's so incredibly important to make connections at the very beginning. One of the things as a part of our talent programs we know is that you have to know people. You have to help them grow, be deeply invested in them. So through this program, we know them, we begin to invest in them, and then the third piece of that is how do you begin to move people in the direction of their aspirations and their goals? Well, you can't do that without a deep connection. And the power of mentorship isn't just it's one way. You also have reverse mentorship. So through the process, we invest in you, you make us better as we go through the journey so that it's better for everyone. That's an inclusive workforce.
And have you found that the mentors and mentees are, for lack of a better term, clicking? Are they talking? Is it working?
Well, what is working is that so much has happened in our world today that leaders are showing up in a spirit of, I don't know. I'm curious. I want to understand. We have some things across Best Buy we call a candid conversation. And candid conversations is how we expose people to different cultures, different backgrounds. And it's created a humility in our culture, a vulnerability in the culture that helps our mentors to go, how do I lean in to understand? So they're not just showing up saying, I got all the answers.
Yeah.
They're showing up in a way that says, I want to learn, I want to grow too.
Yeah.
Let's do this together.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Mary Beth, what are your thoughts on how mentorship is going to work at Hy-Vee and where do you see it going?
Sure. So we've this last year we did go ahead and match all of our Accelerate Scholars with Hy-Vee mentors, and the mentors were like was said before, equally impressed and learned, I think, as much as the mentees did. And there were a lot of good conversations that happened. We had to adjust things a little bit because of the COVID requirements and how they met. I think several of them met virtually. I'm excited that these initial introductions have happened, and I'm hopeful that in the next year they can continue to be in touch and start getting together in person. The stories that I've heard from our mentors and the feedback that we've gotten from mentees is that this is a great step. I'm very curious to learn more about the programs that my partners here on the stage have and see how we can maybe partner together to improve our mentor program. I think that our initial year went really well, and we're excited to build on that for the coming year.
Terrific. Now, Nadja, you are not last on this subject. You are, in baseball terminology, batting cleanup because you are a professional mentor. And with upturnships, I know, in Minneapolis. And so I want your perspective on the importance of mentorship in this process.
Mm-hmm. I feel like mentorship is one of those things that you don't know you need until you've had it before. I had my first mentor experience at my first corporate job out of college, and I didn't know that I needed it. Luckily, it was handed to me on a silver platter, and that was the point where I was like, wow, where has this been? And I want to be able to provide this to others. And so mentorship is just that. It's a reciprocal relationship where we get to learn from each other. I've learned so much from my mentees and have grown in great ways, and I hope that I've been able to pour into them along different parts of their life, if it's career, if it's school, if it's relationships, whatever that might be. I think mentorship is really important, and those connections can really help you in your career, in the life choices that you make. And so I think mentorship is something that all of us need, and has been a great asset to myself and to the students I've been able and privileged to work with.
Terrific. Now, the next phase of the program, as I understand it, is a potential offer for an internship with the organization. What's the importance, do you think, of an internship in terms of both future employment with that company and also perhaps even just other companies generally? And so, DeLacy, let me start with you on that one. What's your view on the internship component of this program?
So I think the internship provides more opportunity for camaraderie. So they get to know other students from other universities, other areas. This year, we were able to bring some of our interns on campus, but we also offered a virtual component for some interns. So we had programs where they met as a group virtually and in person. They're also paired with mentors at that state. But the opportunity to come on as an intern, it gives them a little bit more clout, if you will, because now they have under their belt, I've worked for Thomson Reuters, which is a global organization, and they can say they worked in many different areas, marketing, they may have worked in technology, we have legal, there's so many different areas that they can work in, but even if they're assigned to one, they can get to know people in other areas, and so it's just kind of like the gift that keeps on giving, because maybe they can come back another year for a different internship in another space. And so some of the students definitely they're multi-passionate, so they might be interested in 2 areas. So it's really good to be able to be somewhere where there's a multitude of opportunity.
Oh, sure. Mark, how have internships worked so far at Best Buy, and what's your view of them?
Oh, I think they're critical. If you think about how do people learn, there's studies out there that 75% of all learning comes from actually doing things.
Right.
It's not from like going to I'm not against classes, but classes have a place, right? And so the internship is the application of what I've learned in a way that helps me to retain and be able to make decisions. I think they're critical. And they actually take the dust off a bit for those of us that are of color that have never been in that environment. It helps us to realize it's just humans. All of us are working in the same space, and we all have a similar opportunity. I think it's powerful.
Mary Beth, what is your view on how you'd like to see the internships develop at Hy-Vee?
Sure. So this last summer, we welcomed 4 interns to our retail stores, and they got exposure to all of our departments. So they were helping in the bakery, they were helping in produce, they were helping with operations, accounting, some of the customer service areas. So that experience and that practice of being in a public-facing role, right? Because we're welcoming the public and our customers to our stores every day, expose them to things beyond the classroom, like you were saying, and it gave them a chance to practice customer service, to practice paying attention to fine details, being creative and solving problems. So, the internship is a key part in the students' learning as they're deciding what they want to do. And if there's an opportunity for them in retail and grocery, we have a culture at Hy-Vee of loyalty, people who've been with the company 20, 30, 40 years. And many of them started in what was an internship, right? So they started off as a cashier, or they started off bagging groceries, and now they're in senior leadership roles. So our interns got that first step, and I'm excited to see where they go and how many more interns we can get to our stores here in Minnesota to start hopefully long-term careers with our company.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Mark before we came on, and he was working in the supply chain area with Best Buy prior to his current role, and we both said, who knows what that is? If you're a young student who has not been around that, and Nacha, you're in a consulting firm that has got to be a mystery to young students who haven't been exposed to that area. How can internships help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, internships are more about, it's less about the relationship between the intern and that corporation, and it's more about that doing to be able to understand what you like, what you don't like, what visibility to different things. I find it a win when my students come back and say, I didn't like that. I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to work in this type of environment, or I don't think I want to work remotely. I think that's a win, because as then they start pursuing those first roles, they can be able to say, based on my internship experiences, these are some of the things that I value. These are the things that I don't want, and being able to be finding meaningful work right away with less stumbling. They may still stumble, but maybe there's less stumbling because of the experiences that they had at that internship. And consulting is a mystery. I didn't know what consulting was, even after I graduated from college. And so you want to provide that visibility that this is an option. This is an option for you. We would love for you to stay at Solemn, but we just want you to understand that consulting is something that you might be really great at and you might really enjoy. And so I think it's more about that versus the relationship between the organization and the student.
Could I say one thing? I think that's so important too, because an internship gives a safe space to try a career out without so much risk. Going and applying for the job, starting the job, and then a year later you discover, this is not what I want to do. An internship really does give you that safe space to try it out and to say, you know what, it's been 3 great months, but this isn't for me. So that's another thing I think to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, ensuring the fit, it seems like, is part of the key to retention, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's critical. If you think about, and I'm going to push on your word there a bit, it's not really about the fit, it's more about where do I want to work? Where are my skill sets best applied? Where do I actually achieve my optimum best? And so through experimentation, if I can go into an internship or do some of these other things, I realized, to your point, which I thought was powerful, don't like it, hate it, not going to do that another year. Actually enjoy this, and you start to explore some things you didn't know were there. And one example I'll just give you is that I remember I was in college, and I had never publicly ever spoke. Now, through an internship program, they made me speak, and I hate to use the word made, but it was a requirement. And once I took the stage, I said, oh my goodness, I actually enjoy that. And so some of these things that we're sometimes resistant to doing, sometimes in doing, you find a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important. So all of you the enthusiasm for the program is terrific, and I started off by saying that Center for American Progress had the study that said corporations are interested, but they don't know how to sort of start. You've given them some insights now into what it looks like. The question is, how do they begin? What would you encourage, or how would you encourage other corporations to start this path so that we can expand the program? And I'll start with you, Nacha.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious organizations and programs like the Page are a great place to start to partner with. But I think organizations need to think about the long term, right? So the partnership is great, but then also building that pipeline, and that pipeline might not just start in undergraduate college, it might be expanded into the K-12 as well. And so I think opportunities like the Accelerate program have been super beneficial, again, to both parties, the students being able to have that visibility, but also the organizations to be able to have a sense of what does that future pipeline look like, right? And how can we have a collective impact with the nonprofits, the K-12 system, to support our students towards success. So I think it's critical that organizations start to think about and invest in our students.
DeLacy, what would your pitch be to a corporation that's on the fence deciding whether this is something they want to do?
I would say do it, hands down. But then to do that, you have to agree to invest the time and invest the money, because it's worth it. The reward is going to come back. There's so much ROI, and not just for the student, for the organization and for the people in the organization who are taking part in this program. When you are a mentor, or when you are coming and putting on a seminar for the students, sharing your time, doing mock interviews, you grow from that as well. So it helps your employees be able to volunteer and give back. Yeah. But then it also helps you give back to a student who then can someday be your employee. So for us, I am just grateful that our new CEO supports this program. Our current president of legal is financially helping support this program as well. And so again, you have to put the money there to make this succeed, but then also dedicate the resources to help it succeed once the students are on campus.
Sure. Mark, what would you say? You're at an event, and one of your peers from another company is talking to you and it says, well, why should I do it?
Yeah, my answer to that is I don't think you have a choice. I mean, if you look at the census data, America is changing, there's no question. You know, the baby boomer generation is now retiring at levels of 1 million people a month. That means you've got a non-diverse workforce that's actually leaving the scene. The workforces that are replacing the baby boomer are quite diverse. They're up to 50% diverse. If you don't build a company that can be inclusive and include all, guess what's going to happen to your talent pipeline? It's going to dry up. Why not have the best and the brightest at the table with you? And then I love what you said. You have to also say, I'm committed. It's not, I'm going to try this, and if I see something doesn't work, I'm backing out. That's not this word. This is all about equity of experience and understanding that certain pipelines don't have the same exposures and being willing to invest in those pipelines.
Yeah, the future workforce is going to look a lot different.
It's going to be a lot different.
And
the leaders to navigate it have to be different in how they navigate.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Mary Beth, what's your thought on, as a new entrant now, talking to people, your peers, what would you say in terms of encouraging them to get off the dime and start this process?
The value and the feedback that we've received, the growth that we've had as a company speaks for itself. I think that's how I would advocate for other organizations to get into this. I would say, you know, in answering the question, where do you start? I don't think you have to look very far. We've been sure to listen to our employees to figure out what organizations are they working with, where are their passions, and then how can we find partnerships with those groups and bring them in. It's become more than, you know, writing a check and walking away. We want to partner. We want to figure out what kind of career opportunities and pathways do we have for people who are benefiting from a Page Education Foundation. We recognize that we need to do a better job in looking like our communities, right? We do a really good job of bringing in the products and putting things on our shelves that the communities want to buy, but we want to make sure that that employee that's selling the product looks like the community and is representative of it. So, you know, I think that those our experience with this program has been a great story, and I'm happy to share that with whomever is interested in expanding in this area.
Well, please do, every opportunity.
Yes.
You know, speaking of doing a better job, one of the questions that we had on behalf of the Page Education Foundation is, how can Page do a better job of engaging corporations? Every year the Page Education Foundation gets 1,000 applications. We issue about 500 grants. That means there's 500 unmet needs for students, and the more businesses that we can get engaged in this process, the more grants we can give, and the better the process goes. How can we do a better job of engaging corporate America? We'll start with you, Nadja.
It's a great question. I think Page does a great job. I'm trying to think, what can they do better? But I think it's that awareness. I think continuing to get the Accelerate program and the Page program out to the corporate businesses about the value of partnering, right? And when we talk about the scholarships, right, about 50% of the students that apply are not able to receive, right? And so that's one way that a business can invest. Maybe right now you might not be ready to have an Accelerate program or to provide an internship, but you can invest in our students through their education, because finances is one of the biggest barriers to students actually graduating from college. And if we don't have those college graduates, we don't have that healthy pipeline into corporate America. And so I think a financial investment might be an easy way for folks to start getting engaged, start investing, and then moving into these higher levels of engagement with Accelerate and in internships.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. Lacey?
I think this is a great one that they're doing right now, allowing current partners to share their stories so that other groups can see, hey, I want in. As Mark said earlier, I want in. And that's what I know people will want when they know more about this organization. Some employees or employers are looking for opportunities, but they might not yet know. So I think sharing this video and having people come to the gala so that they can learn more about this and share, the video. I'm sure the gala is going to be recorded. Share that video out so that people can learn about what we're doing, what these students are doing, and how they can get in on it.
Terrific. Mary Beth?
I'd say leverage the student voices. You have a strong, 500 strong voice right now that can get out there and share their stories. What we've learned from the scholars that we've worked with is that they are smart and educated and they want to make a difference in their communities. And so many companies out there are itching to do the same and itching to ramp up what they're already doing. So leverage those student voices. Students, get out there, share your stories, talk about the different organizations, and I think that will help immensely.
Mark?
Yeah, I think same thing. You know, there's a bit of, like, how do you move corporate hearts? You move corporate hearts through compelling stories. You move corporate hearts with the data. What happens to people that are involved in these programs? Page has an exceptional record of pouring out exceptional leaders in the communities. I think those stories will bring corporate America to the table. There's no question about that.
And I think, frankly, with all of with the passion that you all show and your positions that you've all got, you are going to be great ambassadors for that as well. What advice would you give right now to a Page Scholar who is just about to graduate? We'll start with you on this one, Mary Beth.
My advice would be, don't be shy. Reach out to the folks on the stage here today. Reach out to your mentors, your professors, and figure out how you can navigate this workforce. We are hiring. So many organizations are in need of you in our workforce today. So definitely my advice is take charge, don't be shy.
That's terrific. DeLacy?
I will say that if you are graduating right now as a Page Scholar, you have been given the tools you need to succeed. You've gone through awesome programming put on by the Page Foundation. You've been a TR Accelerate Scholar or an Accelerate from one of our other partners, and you have learned so many things that really have positioned you for success. So lean on that network that you've gained, lean on the things that you've learned, and go out there and get it done.
Nacho, what advice would you give to a Page Scholar?
Absolutely. Yeah, continue to lean in your network. And, you know, some of your mentorship programs may have formally ended or will be ending, but continue to seek out mentorship. Continue to seek out relationships that will continue to propel you and support you in your journey. I think you've learned a lot, and I think that you can continue that learning through relationships, through mentorships, but it might take you to now kind of seek some of those relationships out, but continue to lean in, and any organization would be so lucky to have you.
Now, Mark, you said, you know, before you did your first public speaking opportunity, it was sort of encouraged upon you.
Absolutely.
How would you encourage a Page Scholar about to graduate to take those risks, to jump in the water?
You know, there's so much in there, and I think I didn't tell you this. My first internship was U.S. Army. That's what it was, and so there wasn't this ability to choose. There was this, you know, tasking and asking to do things that you're required to do. What I would tell a Page Scholar is, number one, know you're amazing. You know, so often we step into the ring of the unknown, and we're always thinking, "Am I good enough?" If you're a Page Scholar, you are more than good enough. Know that, number one. Number two, be curious. I mean, go out there and explore with the comfort of, it's not about making mistakes. It's not about being assured that I'm going to do a great job. It's more about learning as you go and not being afraid. And then the third piece of that is, as you do that, you're going to discover some gifts. You're going to discover some things that engage your passions. Don't find a job. Find a place to engage your passion.
Yeah, terrific. Well, if you think about, Isaiah said in his opening remarks about the DNA of the Page Foundation being racial justice and economic justice. One of the, if you think about employment justice, the fairness of economic opportunity, of employment opportunities, what are a couple of concrete steps that you believe we as a community can do or must do in order to ensure that employment justice is achieved? I'll start with you, Nacho.
Yeah, I think it's I've said this term before, the collective. I think it takes all of us. Oftentimes we lean in on, or it's easy to point fingers to the education system or this or that, but I think it's a collective responsibility for all of us. And I think as individuals, that might come in as mentoring, that might be coming in as providing these opportunities to connect, the Page Scholarship to the organization that you work with or other partnerships. But it is our responsibility collectively to look down the pipeline, to look down to the generations that are coming that are going to be, our new leaders, and find ways to have impact there and to provide influence on the ways that we develop our talent, the ways that we want our students to be successful in their education, graduating from college, graduating from high school. But I think it's something that we all should want to invest in because these are our neighbors. These are our future coworkers. These are, our children's friends, right? And so we want to make sure that everyone is successful, and I think that takes all of us.
I love that view, the broad view on that. And Mark, what would you say that we as a society can or must do to make sure that there's employment justice?
Yeah, I think a couple of my partners on stage mentioned this. You have to be intentional. There has to be intentionality and an awareness that the current systems are not inclusive. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing we have to understand is through data, like what is prohibiting people from joining corporate America? I think if you look at it, if you read the average job posting requirement, you'd go, I don't qualify for that. We see that overwhelmingly among women and amongst people of color. Mm-hmm. So we have to take away the corporate speech. Make those job postings simple, understandable language that resonates with all of us. And unnecessary requirements that were actually put in place to prevent people from coming in, by the way. We have to take all that stuff down and ask deeper questions about what does it really take to do the job? Mm-hmm. I was talking to a store leader the other day out in one of our facilities, and they said, I interview people that enjoy talking to people. How about that? And she is actually producing incredible leaders on her team because of that. Mm-hmm. I think that's number one. Mm-hmm. I think number two, you have to look at the interview panels. Mm-hmm. The interview panels in some cases they're not diverse. They don't represent all of us. And so biases unintentionally do creep in. Mm-hmm. I was on a call the other day and I was talking to some people, and there was like 5 people on the call, and there was one person that was an Army veteran. And he and I started talking for like 5 minutes, and we realized we're not talking to anybody else. Yeah. If a panel's not diverse, it's natural for us to all zoom into the person that's most like us. We have to have diverse hiring panels.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, Mary Beth?
No, I agree with that 100%. It is very important for corporate America right now to lift the veil and see where these biases come into play and the barriers that we're creating that have prohibited people of color from ascending to leadership positions. There's the application from the beginning, the interview process, the onboarding process. How welcome do you feel when you're going through our new employee orientation? Is this a culture that we've created that you want to be a part of? So it is the entire employee life cycle from when you first find out about our company and the jobs that we're offering to when you're hopefully ready for retirement after a long and healthy career. It's just identifying what barriers along the way have held people back that we can bring down so that more people can have success and longevity in our company.
DeLacy, any additional thoughts on how we can take concrete steps to achieve that employment justice?
I would say we all work for amazing corporations, but the corporations are the people who work there. And so I think individually we can use this African term called Sankofa, and it means reach as we climb. We're all individually trying to grow every day, trying to get to the next place. So as we get to the next place, let's remember to reach back and pull someone else up. And I think if we do that individually, we'll see our organizations grow exponentially.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. So the Page Education Foundation has been around for 30 years or so, and we are now exploring this Accelerate program in its infancy. If you look out in your crystal ball and the next decade or so, where do you see the partnerships between corporate America and nonprofits like Page? What do they look like in the next couple of decades? Mark, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, again, back to the conversation about the demographic shifts in the United States, there has to be a deep connection where we're willing to invest in the communities, not just take resources out of the communities. We have to invest, we have to pour resources into. I think we're also at a stage where the world's starting to realize we've left too many communities uninvested in. And if we do that, here's the danger. There's gifts, there's insights that we don't get. And so there's many things that we haven't solved for because we haven't invested in everyone. And it goes back to what you said about the neighbor. If someone's my neighbor, I don't leave them behind. I actually pull them up with me. In 30 years, I believe we're going to be there. Actually, I believe we're going to be there in the next 5 years, to be honest with you.
That's terrific.
You know, I'm hopeful that we'll see more Page Scholars in leadership positions at Hy-Vee. Like, I think that the benefits that we're seeing just 1 year in have been wonderful. So, you know, I could say 10 years down the line, I'm hopeful that we'll see more Page Scholars in our leadership positions, and that's true for many of our partners that we're working with. We want to see that growth. We want to see that partnership strengthen in that way.
DeLacy, where do you see, if you look in your crystal ball and say, how does the partnership between Thomson Reuters and Page Education look in 20 years?
I think it's going to be stronger than ever. I want to piggyback on something Mary Beth mentioned earlier. It's not about just writing a check. It's about investing. And when you really invest in the people, like we do with Page Foundation, that's where the reward comes in. And so I think if other organizations, you know, I think all organizations are going to have to do that, because the new generation of talent that's coming up, they want to work for organizations that are in line with the things that they care about. And so organizations are really going to have to invest in the social aspects of the world and really get in line with, you know, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and there are 16 of them there that you can find and champion.
That's terrific. Nacha?
Yeah, I think it's going to help organizations to start preparing now, today, right, for this new generation of people that are going to be leaders and working in these organizations. And so being able to have a good perspective through the Accelerate program of who these students are, who these scholars are, I think will allow us to start preparing for them as leaders, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and making ways for them to lead and lead our organizations into that new wave of into the newness, into the greatness of all the great work that we're doing. So I think it's going to make our organizations better, and I think the partnerships are going to be much, much stronger and intentional.
Terrific, and hopefully, you know, as we've been talking about with the workforce changing and the demographics of society changing, that programs like this will be commonplace, and it'll have made our organizations more reflective of the new workforce, I hope. Well, I know we're nearing the end of our time, and there's been so many fantastic points that it's really tough to key in on them. I got to tell you, one of the things that I'd love to hear is that what this organization, what the Accelerate program has done in part, and Mark said this earlier, was you know, it has brought a humility to the companies to understand that they're learning too. And one of the benefits of a program like this, from what I hear from you, is that we're not just, you know, helping a student, they're helping us too. They're helping the corporations. So it's good for, it's not just good, it's essential, I think, for the development of corporate America as we look forward, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys have been just terrific. I do want to thank you very much for participating in the program today. I think everybody who has thought about this program and is unsure whether they should do it now, in DeLacy's words, just do it.
Just do it.
So, again,
We can credit Nike.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if anybody is interested in learning more about the Accelerate program, they can go to the Page website at pageed.org. It's under the What We Do tab, I think. And but check it out, because it's a worthwhile endeavor. As you can see, it's a successful one as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's program. I want to thank our moderator and panelists, Todd Wind, DeLacy McGrew, Mark Irvin, Mary Beth Hart, and Nacha Sanungi for sharing their time, talent, and knowledge with us. Also, Thank you to all our Justice Gala sponsors, including our presenting sponsors, Hy-Vee and Jim and Jan Senegal, and our sustaining partner, Greenberg Touareg. This concludes the first of our two-part gala this year. Please join us again tomorrow from 6 to 10 p.m. at US Bank Stadium for our in-person Justice Gala celebration. Tickets are still available to purchase at www.page-ed.org. Last, if you enjoyed our program, please make a donation to the Page Education Foundation so that we may continue this vital work. Thank you.